So why is it important to learn how to use these attributes with like shortcuts? Even though it might, sound kind of like a silly thing to practice, but you want to think about how many layers you usually in like a software like After Effects you would be dealing with. And let's say I want to select all of these and just change some kind of bits of like maybe scale, right? You would have all of these lined up and whatsoever, and you just want to change like one little thing. But if you just fold them again and just like type in, if you want to change the opacity, you type in T, and that's going to show you exactly just that thing that you want to change. And that is really, really helpful. Like in many cases, people would have a completely different screen just to show what's going on the just this area of like layers, and you can like kind of tear things off and just kind of have like a completely different screen just for these ones, because it gets really, really complicated. So it's really important to practice the shortcuts even for things that are as simple as that. Now, to go even further, if you want to have the opacity and also, for instance, position, if you type in P, that's going to show the position, and then Shift and another attribute such as T for opacity. So you can see now the position and opacity. Or if you want anchor point, Shift R, so you get the anchor point and the rotation. So it goes to that extent. It's really important to know all the shortcuts. And speaking of using all of these kind of this amount of layers, in many cases you would want, for instance, to kind of go and hide multiple ones, right? Or maybe you want to have, let's say here, I'm just gonna go here, and let's say I want to have all of these influenced by one command, such as maybe changing the view here. So you can just select on all of the ones that you want to influence and just change, for instance, the visibility on them. So that's very helpful. Also, if you don't have them all selected and you want to apply something similar, such as the visibility, for instance, or like the shy, you can click and drag, and that's going to apply that to all of the ones that your mouse touches. Things like this, same way. Okay, so that's really important to know. Anyhow, I am going to go and erase these. So now that I have this kind of setup here, before I continue, I want to mention a few things about the timeline shortcuts and the way we kind of navigate. If I click here B and then go here, click N. Okay, so as I mentioned before, this is my work area, and it's really important to kind of specify this, and I don't feel comfortable with all of that length. I don't care about it, right? So first I'm going to start into the some of the buttons that are also very, very helpful for like moving around. But before I continue, I want to show you how we can, let's say you decided that, I just want to have this length for my timeline, right? You can go here and trim your composition into the work area. So you can go into the composition, trim, composition to work area. Shortcut is Control Shift and X, and that's gonna make your timeline now much easier to kind of work with, because it's just gonna be limited to this. Okay, now other than that, if you click Home on the keyboard, you would go all the way into the very beginning of your timeline. If you go End, click on End, it's going to take you all the way till the end. If you click Control and right arrow, you would go one frame forward. Let me zoom in a little bit. One frame forward. If you click Control and left keyboard arrow, you're gonna jump backwards only one frame. If you click Control Shift and right arrow, you're gonna jump 10 frames, or jump back 10 frames if you click the left arrow. Also, if you click page down, you're gonna move one frame forward. If you click Shift and page down, that would be 10 frames forward. Or page up, with and without shift, with, shift, without shift, with, without. Okay, spacebar is gonna play. Okay, so next I'm gonna go into covering a little bit of lighting briefly, just to show you the attributes about shadows as well, because it gets confusing a little bit since After Effects by default is designed to show no shadows.